Remember to breathe, cause it'll take your breath away when the engines cough and you blast off. Ignite the night with a firecracker flash. Remember to live, cause you're...
Hello, I am Axel MC131 and welcome back to the Kerbal Space Program. And when we last left off a few days ago, we were getting ready to have another go at testing the Spark engine in high Kerbal orbit. However, I have done some thinking since then and realized just how dumb I was, but we'll get to that in a moment. But I've done a whole lot of planning the last couple of days, and I've got an idea as well, which I've been working on, which is for what I want to do with this series. Now, I know a lot of people, when they do like career mode saves and stuff, they're like, oh yeah, I want to, you know, visit every single body in the Kerbal system, or visit every monument, or the little the Easter eggs, the anomalies and stuff. I work really slowly, so none of that will really work for me. You know, I'd be doing it for years before I found that. But the first that I've ever got, like, in a career save is sending a rover to Juna. And I think that my goal for, the ultimate goal for this series, at least until I do it and then think of something else, is going to be putting a colony on Juna, and then perhaps returning from Juna to Kerbin. But that will be a long-term goal, so that's just something to think about. But for the moment, I'm going to do a simulation flight of the very strange Intrepid 4 that we had last time, wherever it is. Is it this one? This one. Sure, Jeb, you can be on top. We're just going to do a simulation because I have an alternate plan here. I basically made a plan B and then decided that plan B was better than plan A, so I swapped them. So this is now plan B, and that basically means it's not actually going to be used. But we're going to see how it flies, just out of curiosity. So yeah, T, and throttle up, and yeah, get ready to launch in 3, 2, 1. Okay, nice and smooth. And yeah, now we get to see how this thing would fly if I was going to use it for this mission, which I am not. Just to reiterate, this is just a simulation. And for those of you who haven't really seen asparagus staging before, just to reiterate, what's going on here is that the two outer fuel tanks here are draining their fuel into the middle one. So this one's staying full because this engine is actually draining fuel from these ones. So when they burn out, we're left with one engine and a full fuel tank, even though this one's been burning the entire time. That's the basis of asparagus staging. It's basically more power, but each time you stage, you have a full fuel tank, even though all your engines are running at the same time. And you can see the sort of benefit that something like asparagus staging gives us. We've just run out of fuel in that boost stage, and we're just going to ditch that and ignite that engine. But look how close we are to orbit. And come on. Out of the atmosphere, please. Thump. There we go. 74 by 79. Not the most circular, but there you go. And we still have that much fuel. So there's the advantage with asparagus staging is because rocket engines, the liquid fuel rocket engines, are much more efficient than solid fuels. So solid fuel boosters are great for early game. There's nothing wrong with them, and they're just, the power is incredible. But asparagus staging and things like that can be very good if you are trying to get like an efficient launch. And they also look cool. There is nothing wrong with that. They look awesome, especially when you have like big pairs or even groups of 4 like liquid fuel boosters just coming off in groups. It's pretty awesome. But yeah, so that would probably been successful. I don't know if we would have had the Delta V in that stage still to get to high orbit. I don't know. but I'm not going to risk finding out. We're going to go back to vehicle assembly, and I'm going to show you my really, really obvious solution that I cannot believe I missed, which goes along the line of saying we have a vehicle that we know is capable of getting to high orbit. It's the Intrepid 2. So I made some modifications, and now we have the Intrepid 2 payload, which inside the service bay now has the 48-7S Spark. This has got a thrust limiter of 0, which means that it's not going to actually fire, ever, even if I stage it, even though, mainly because it's still somehow connected to the fuel line here, so it would burn and then it would explode the ship, so I've just thrust limited to 0. But it's inside the payload where we used to have a reaction wheel and 2 mystery goo experiments, and it weighs about the same. And we've made some changes to the Intrepid 2 so that we now have a T-800 tank and bigger fins, so this is kind of the Intrepid 2 Mark II, as it were. But yeah, so we are going to send this into high orbit, and I think that we'll send Jeb on board still, because Jeb hasn't actually been to high orbit yet, so that can be good. So that is what we are going to do today. So let me just recheck our staging. So I think we are good. The only science experiments we have on this are a press mat barometer and a thermometer. And that's just because we haven't got the barometer science from high orbit yet, so that can be good. So let's go and put this on the launch pad. Alright, and we are here. So let us get ready to launch. T for stability assist. You ready there, Jeb? Yep. Jeb does a little dance. I'm so happy. Alright, let's just throttle up to about 2/3. And get ready to go in 3, 2, 1. So I didn't thrust limit the thumper on this because I remembered the Intrepid 2 being really quite heavy. Maybe I should have. Oh well, we'll see how this goes. Okay, that is the second stage off, and go! And you may have noticed, by the way, when I was first doing the initial launch with the boost stage, the first stage running there, I started tilting backwards, and I think that's because I have the controlled fins in the middle, so as the center of mass moved up, they started to be moved in the opposite direction, and then I started flipping the wrong way. So I let it go at that point. I'm not too worried about that. It just meant that I had to work. It means that I have to work a bit harder to pull back and turn to the right, or turn to the east, and flip back on course. But I'm not hugely worried about that because I know that this thing has a respectable amount of delta V. I just hope it's enough. I'm going to push this up to about 72, so we can get most efficiency. Yep, we have about half our fuel left. Still got to do the orbital insertion. So hopefully this is enough. It was a sloppy launch. It was a very sloppy launch. Whoa. Okay, I think we are ready to insert ourselves orbitally. Yeah, because that makes sense. Do our orbital insertion. That's what I mean. Okay, burning directly on the horizon, which is nice. We're nice and low, so we're hopefully nice and efficient. But I am running low on fuel. Oh dang. Oh dang. Hump. I'm wondering if we should just go for this. Oh dear. Alright, so here's the plan. Seeing as our periaps is still within the atmosphere and our apoaps isn't that high, we're going to burn here. Bring that up to, what is it, 560? 560 to 570, yeah. So, see how, as little as we can do. And, yeah, actually, I want to see how much delta V that would take. Let me just add a maneuver and bring the apoaps up. This is how, doing some more maneuvers here, but let's just bring it up to 556, 567, 562. That's about 200 meters per second, or 12 seconds of burn. I think we might have that. I think we've probably just got that. Alright, so we're actually going to keep that maneuver node. Why not? There is no point in not using it. If I don't make a maneuver node, then I'll just go into orbit, you know, manually. But it's nice to, if I'm going to make one just to see the delta V, it's nice. I might as well use it, you know. But we've got that coming up in about 30 seconds, so let's just time warp around a little more to there. We are oriented in the direction that we want to be, so let's go. And yeah, gently throttle up because we don't need to be full burning for this. No, I think we're going to be capable of this. Nice and easy. Nice and easy. Let's throttle up a little bit. There we go. Just bring that up above 560. It's just tiny, tiny smidgen of thrust. 550, 560. There we go. Done. And we've still got plenty of fuel left for the deorbit. Awesome. This is a much cleaner mission. You know, other than the launch. Right, up we go! And we'll wait for this to say altitude 560 to 570. More time warp! And there we go! We have hauled that into orbit of Kerbin, and that is contract complete. 50,000 funds and 5 science. Lovely. Right, next port of call. Make sure that we are pointing our solar panels at the sun. The other change that I made to the Intrepid 2 is rotating the solar panels back down to the sides of the fuel tank so that we actually don't have to roll it around to point them at the sun. But we've got to do some thermometer, so let me just point that at the back. Log pressure data. Keep that. 18 science. And I don't think that we can do the EVAs and things again. EVA report. No. Space high above Kerbin we've already got. And I think we've already got the temperature as well. Yep. Alright, so that is all we have, so let's just go around to... Oh, we're already at Apoapс. Nice. Would you like to point retrograde? Thank you, Jeb. Jeb knows exactly what he's doing. And burn. I think 34? Yeah, that'll do it. I don't want to come in too low, coming in from a high orbit. You always got to be careful with that. Alright, and that is pretty much it. Let us, yeah, time warp back around. Okay, and here comes the planet, and the atmosphere with it. So let's just make sure that we're pointed retrograde. And I think I'm going to do the same thing that I did with the Intrepid 2, which is keeping the service stage for a little bit. Hopefully we won't get some more atmospheric leapfrog. That was an awful lot of fun, though. But hopefully we'll avoid that if we can. I wonder if we've got... Oh, I guess we've already got that. Hopefully that doesn't explode, because I forgot to go out, get out and then grab it, and then put it back in. But I don't want to risk that now when the atmosphere comes in. About there. And the music stops. That's how you know you've hit the atmosphere. Right. Now the fun bit begins. So we have a little bit of fuel in here, but I want to use it to slow me down some more. There is no reason not to. I mean, it's going to be ditched and then explode anyway, so we might as well use it while we have it. Periapsis is about 34, so I think I'm going to warp it a little bit. Maybe until we get some shock heating. Oh, there we go. Okay. Let's turn the engine on. Have some powered descent. I love powered descent. It's delicious. Okay, we're going to burn off the rest of the fuel in this. I don't know why I didn't do that with the Intrepid 2. For some reason I decided not to. I just left a little bit of fuel in it, but we're going to use all of the fuel in this because there is zero reason to have the fuel left. And there we are, we're out. So let's get ready to rotate this way and stage. And the engine cannot activate while stowed. Ah, good. It wouldn't have activated anyway. That is good. Even though it has no fuel. Let's just make sure we're pointed pretty much retrograde. And then turn the SAS off. We're good. Log temperature, no. Crew report? No. It's nice just to check every now and again, because I'm frequently pleasantly surprised, you know? It's like, there's probably nothing. You're either... It's the pessimist approach. There's probably nothing there. You're either right, or you're pleasantly surprised, you know? Yes, now we have re-entry to go through, so let's have some fun. Alright, we are back down to the lower part of the atmosphere, and as the sun sets to the west... That is the west. That is the west. How quickly it sinks down the horizon. Right, we are getting ready to open our parachute. So, 400 meters per second and slowing down by a huge amount. Come on. Slow down. 290. 280. Safe deploy. Unsafe. And... risky. And safe. Yay. Deploy. Wonderful. It's interesting that we're using about the same amount of ablator every time. Like, we get down to about 181 units of ablator, which is quite interesting. There's probably some physics involved with that. I guess I'm just really consistent with my re-entries. Right. Time warp down to 1,000 meters where the parachute opens. Thank you. Slowly open up. And I think that was the splash from the orbital stage. And now we... Wow, that was the explosion from the orbital stage. Doing the underground water thing. Right, and now we time warp down till we hit the ocean surface. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Splash. Lovely, okay. Log temperature. I need to stop doing this because I know the temperature we have already got. Question is, do I have the pressure data from in the water? Take that. Board. Log pressure data? We do have it. Okay, never mind. Alright, recover the vessel. Not very much science from this, but we've got a contract complete, which is pretty cool. And back at the Space Center. And, yeah, I've got 18 science from that, just from the pressure scan. Plus the, what was it, 5 that we got from the contract? Recovered parts. Very nice. And we still have this science data from space around the moon, but before we do that, I want to look at some of these, see if there's anything new. There's more ferrying VIPs to places. Oh, look! Rescuing someone from orbit of Kerbin. Those are always fun. Don't really think that we have a vehicle capable of that yet, but we might make one. But I think that I will accept these because I never hire Kerbals for my crew. You know, I never go to the astronaut complex and hire them. I always rescue them from orbit, and then they join your crew, which is pretty awesome. Got position satellite in equatorial orbit of Kerbin. 0 degrees of inclination. Who is this Rockomax? Let me look at the tracking station just to see where that is. It's... this is the polar orbit from experimental engineering. It's like, no. Why would you ever do that? But we have this from Rockomax, which is probably doable. We could probably make a little satellite. So I think I might accept that for the long term. Because the putting satellites in orbit is quite a nice thing to do, especially when you frequently get, like, you know, science data from space around Kerbin or science data from space around the moon. It's always nice to have a satellite in orbit just ready to just grab science from. So, somewhere in the VAB, Werner von Kerman has stacked some parts together and devised a sequel to the Longbow. Here it is. The Longbow 2, Lunar Return, and this I do not know if it will work. This is an idea for sending a vessel to fly past the moon and then return to the surface of Kerbin. This will be interesting. We're going to go for low and high altitude science, but basically we're going to do some fancy orbital things, and we're going to do a free return trajectory. If you don't know what free return is, you will find out. So, I'm wondering if we need anything else in this. I don't think so. This bit is fairly stable, so we should be good. Alright, let us... Yeah, I think we're good. Let's launch this. Actually, let me check my staging. Yeah, I have thrust limit to that. Okay. Put it on the launch pad. Alright, and here we are. And load it up. Bring up our stats. So this is a very simple thing. It's basically just a probe core with some science and solar panels on top of a heat shield with a parachute. And that's pretty much all it is. I don't think this thing has an antenna on it. No. And that's because we're not going to be transmitting science, we are going to be recovering it. So hopefully this will work. But we'll just throttle up and get ready to go in 3, 2, 1. Okay, that is first stage burnout. There we go. Now I'm hoping that this stage here, which is simply a 909 with a T200 tank, is going to be enough, because this payload is incredibly lightweight. We're not sending a capsule or very many science experiments. This payload itself, including the heat shield and stuff, weighs about, like, I don't know, half a ton. Weighs 2.25 tons with the fuel stage still attached, so we've just got our apoaps out of the atmosphere. This is going to be an interesting burn, because we're quite a steep trajectory here. I didn't do very well. I didn't want to go too shallow, because I didn't want any shock heating effects, because I was worried that if we started heating stuff up, most of the parts on this would not survive, because they're very exposed. So let's just go horizon and then burn. And hopefully we will have enough delta V to actually get to the moon. I don't think we'll actually do the lunar transfer in this. We'll do that in the next episode, but I'll at least try and put this thing into orbit. If we can. Apoaps is going around, so I think we'll just hold that there. Oh look, there's Jorna's scrap. I was wondering what that trajectory was for. She's in an 86 by something kilometer orbit. So yeah. It's good to know. There we go, 82 by 75. Good enough for me. And we still have about half our fuel. That should be enough. Let us just make sure this thing is pointed at the sun. And you can see what this is close up, which is just probe core and a reaction wheel for fine control, which I'm thinking that we'll need when we come down for our re-entry trajectory. Heat shield and parachute, some mystery goo, thermometer and barometer, and then solar panels. And we also have batteries hiding under there. So hopefully this thing will survive for a start. As long as I keep it pointed at the sun, we should be fine, and we don't really have anything that uses heaps of power, like probe cores. None of the big probe cores. The big ones use lots of power, but we don't have any of those yet. But this should have enough fuel to get us to the moon, and then we're going to do a free return, which basically means that we're going to fly out to the moon, and we're going to go on this side of it. When we sent the Longbow 1, we went from this side, but we just crashed into it. If we hadn't, we would have been flung off. We would have basically gotten a gravity assist and been flung off into a hugely high orbit. This is how physics works, of course. Now, if we bring our orbit like this, and we come up the moon from this side, right, so we go like this, and then we do like an S-curve. I'm trying to draw with the mouse. I don't know how well this is working. The moon will slow us down relative to Kerbin, and then we'll be in a shallow orbit that'll bring us back down on a return trajectory to Kerbin. It's called a free return. You only burn here. You do not need to do a deorbit burn up here. It's really cool and really useful for lots of circumstances. It's a great thing to learn. But I will show you guys that in the next episode. So yeah, we'll leave this thing in orbit for the meantime. But until then, guys, thank you very much for watching. I've been Axel MC131, and I'll see you next time.